Okay. We might as well turn off the scatter business because we're not doing any temperature lighting from this anyway. But coming out here, let's turn off some of these things actually. I don't want to keep waiting for that every time. Let's copy and paste our render middle to render outer. I'm going to say that this points to the outer out. There you go. I'm going to also say, let's go copy that material. So this will be outer. Similar thing here, we can turn off the scatter and fire. I mean, it wouldn't do anything anyway because it's not going to find those volumes, but just for cleanliness, make sure that this is updated to point to outer. Let's go find our favorite frame, which apparently is 62 for some reason. And let's start somewhere. It's not going to be ultimately exactly what we want, but this will be a good place to start. For one, I already know I want this center column to cast light onto this outer business. We're getting some light cast onto it from the innermost thing, but the actual, this very bright core here should be illuminating as well. So let's do that. So that's something. We'll stop it there. Actually, we'll just stop it entirely. So I'm going to say, let's copy vol inner to vol middle. So vol middle is going to point to, let's just point it to the actual render middle, in fact. Point to that, and because this material is casting that light and maybe, you know, a color version of it, the color being determined by the material. For this one, if you don't put a material here, it will use the quote default shader, which will just be white essentially, or gray technically. This time I want to make sure that we're using the middle, the actual lit color of this again, you know, meaning this bluish white. So that's about it. I don't want the middle to be lit by its own light. So as usual, light mask, say don't use vol middle. And in fact, let's copy that up to the inner. We don't want the inner to receive any light either from this new middle thing. I just want the middle to cast light onto this. Now the statue is already getting nothing, so that doesn't need to be changed. But let's save it. Let's render that and see what that looks like. See what we get, if anything. We can even go to vol middle direct. So we do see something showing up here. It's not a whole lot, but it is something. For one, I think that our outer material here is probably too dense. Let's bring it back down to the default of 1, just to see what that looks like. That looks pretty good actually already. That already looks better. I mean, we do get to see more detail like this, but now it's becoming more about this when it's so dense. And now we're going back to it being about this event here, and this stuff's just kind of swirling around it. So that's cool. There's also a lot of this extra fuzziness out here. We probably wouldn't see it much once we composite it, as you can see, but I will say that we could do this. We can say for the color range here, start at densities that are 0.005, and you can see that some of that will get chopped off. I didn't really see that happen. Oh, that's the color one. My bad. I meant to say here, for the density here, start the density at 0.005. And there you go. So you can see we lost a lot of that extra fuzz. That can make it render faster too, you know, especially for, you know, we weren't going to see much of it anyway. And it'll just be able to shade and render those lighter areas faster. So that looks cool. Definitely better than this. We could even make it brighter, I suppose. We could double this. Why not? Let's see what that looks like. Volume, middle, direct. So yeah, so it's twice as bright now. These kind of things we can really tweak in the compositing stage. You know, everything that we have a separate one of these passes for, we can tweak independently in the final compositing step. I mean, you might as well get as close as you can here, but we will have a lot of control over it. But this looks so cool. Doesn't it look cool? I think that looks really cool. I hope you agree. That should be it, I think, for this. We could do, actually, now that I think about it, we could switch these colors maybe. Meaning, right now it's purple on the ground and it turns into blue. I kind of had it in my mind that it would be blue mainly and it would kind of fade to purple. So we could switch those. I'm not sure. I guess that is true. Actually, as the density gets higher, it becomes purple. Well, that's not really what I was thinking. I was thinking that it would become blue. So let's switch that now. So I'm going to say, let's grab this purple thing here. So I'm going to copy parameter, click on the blue one here, and say paste expressions. Because I still want it to be the expression that's pointing it to the control panel. That looks pretty cool on its own too. Man, see, so many ideas. With Magic, you know, if you're not following a very specific reference, you could do anything. Anyway, so now I'm going to copy the blue parameter here, go back over to our material and say become. I'll paste the relative references to this. So it becomes blue as it gets thicker. So now it's going to be blue on the bottom and it becomes purple as it thins out. That's pretty cool, right? So there it is, swapped. You can tweak this forever. Switched. I don't know which one I like better. I think I like this one better because I like seeing so much of this purple. I mean, I know some of this purple is going to get lost again when we composite it. But I don't know. It's pretty cool. So that's about it, I think. The resolution on this stuff is pretty good, on this outside smoke. And we're not rendering it as a full resolution anyway. But I would say that sim didn't take that long. We could probably squeeze a little bit more out of it. If I come back over to here, look at the sim, I can see that it's really not that bad. We could probably double this. Well, maybe doubling it in each axis might actually get pretty big. That would be 8 times this. We could do it. We could definitely do it, although this is the compressed version of it. How about this? Instead of doubling our voxel count, meaning instead of going to 0.05 here, let's split the difference. Let's go to 0.075. And let's cache this once more. So we'll get a decent amount more resolution out of this, if not quite double the resolution. But I think that'll be pretty good. And then once we do that, we'll do the little last finishing touches on this, where we're gonna add some little light particles through it, and then I think we'll be done, or at least we'll be done and ready to composite it. So let's start caching it again. Okay, so we've got an even higher resolution now. Yeah, somewhat anyway. Oh, there it goes. Anyway, so I've reloaded my crash file there. And so unfortunately, I guess we lost all of our in progress images, but we'll just have to live with that. In any case, so we have our higher resolution, somewhat higher resolution outer smoke business. I just want to make sure that it's still, everything looks more or less correct. And there's one more thing that we would want to do now before we do our full render, which is I want to have little bits of light moving up in this. Although maybe we should just do a test render first with all of this. Get out of here, Creator Cloud. Let's see. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to do a quick half resolution, well, maybe not so quick, but a half resolution render, and we'll see where that gets us. Then we'll move on to the particles.